This is the Red Arrow Show with me, Josh Everton, Tracy Martin, Tom Webster, and a special guest. Joe Beardsall is back for a super sub appearance to basically laugh at last season's predictions, which he had, which I've just quickly looked at, and you've got the least right, Joe, out of all of us.
I
So
knew you'd save that until we came on to tell me that. Yeah, thanks, mate.
no,
Yeah, I
no,
wondered
let's
why
get
you
it
wanted to
in.
get me back on. Oh, yeah.
No, get it in nice and early, Get it in nice and early. So yeah, as I said last week, we're gonna be doing an end of season review. Get these guys' thoughts on how that season went, and yeah, let's get stuck into it. So first off, as I already mentioned it, Joe, pre-season. I've just got a couple of questions here looking at your predictions. So yeah, Charlton to win the league, which not great. Us to come second, not great. Blackpool, they didn't make top six. Derby, Bolton, and Exeter. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of opportunity here to try and defend those outrageous predictions.
I'm not going to even try to defend those predictions. You all did better than me. You guys at home did better than me. Well done. I'm terrible at predicting. Note the date and time, Josh. You've got it on record now. I mean, Charlton, I thought obviously Alfie May had a good season, and I guess them signing him were part of the thought process with that. But like you said, didn't particularly have a great season. And then yeah, the rest were there or thereabouts, apart from Exeter. I think was the only one that weren't in there. So yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
going to take this one on the chin, Josh, and admit that I was wrong. There we
No, I
go.
think that's a good way to go about it. Tom, I'm going to look at yours as well. Bolton, Derby, Portsmouth. That doesn't look bad. Charlton, Peterborough. I understand. Wickham.
Did Wickham had done all right previously, and I thought they'd sneak in. To be fair, um, I just thought they'd be an horrible team to play against, and they'd just pick up points. Um, so yeah, that's me one poor prediction, I would say. Charlton, I thought they'd do a lot better. Um, like like Joe said, sorry. Signing Alfie May, you think half decent side, they're going to be up there. But probably we are team that be closer to relegation zone than playoffs. So
I think especially if Nathan Jones ain't coming as well.
yeah, I think I did okay. I'm not amazing, but you know.
No, I think you've done great because I also got 4 out of 6. So I think you've done fantastic there, Tom, personally.
Yeah.
And Tracy, you're sat top of the pile, joint with Al with 5 out of 6 correct. Only Charlton let you down, and Derby in the correct position, which again puts you even more tied first with Al because you had someone actually in the right place of Bolton, Derby, Charlton, Portsmouth, us, and Oxford. So that last minute equaliser for Northampton ruined you really. You'd have been flying. You'd have got three out.
Yeah,
You'd have got three in right
and I was
place.
that in six, wasn't I? And that'd have been me, running
Yeah,
off with a trophy.
yeah. The
Now you've
trophy
got to
that
share it with Alan, Tracy. So
Exactly. Could it be worse?
I don't even know what I don't like. I don't think yours is wooden spoon, Joe, for how far down you've been compared to the rest of us. Unfortunately,
I'm just going to shut up at this point and just hope I don't get dragged back into this.
yours is more of a participation award, I think, than anything else.
Well done for trying.
Yeah, thanks for turning up. We'll see you later. Right. So, as I said, we're going to follow on from sort of last week's discussions, end of season stuff. So, same format as last week. We're going to discuss the board, discuss the players, discuss the manager, give sort of each element a rating out of 10 and see sort of where we lie. So, starting with the players, Tracy, sort of looking at last season, it seemed almost a season of two halves in a way of like the run up to Christmas. Almost turned a corner. Donovan Pine signed. Great couple of months off the back of that, and then around that second half at Bolton, it just seemed like a different team, even even within the players.
Yeah, I mean, we've all spoke about it, and it was spoke about last week when you did the first version of this. We talked about the wheels fell off, and we never will, I guess, know why or how or what happened. It didn't look like it was a single sort of thing that happened, but it just literally fell to pieces in the space of 45 minutes, and we just never seemed to recover. Up to that point, yeah, I mean, up to Christmas, we started with 7-0, didn't we? But after that, we sort of sauntered, and then we just started to get better and better and better. And you were like thinking, wow, going into the transfer window, everyone was quite buoyant, chasing the top two, which I thought was well out of our realm hence why none of us, did anyone predict us to get in the top two?
Probably Joe. In fact, yeah, Joe did.
course.
Joe did predict
Is
second.
it really a surprise?
I'll predict second as well.
Al probably predicted a Centurion season.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
first.
But I think, like, if you ask the majority of the fans, they'd have probably said we'd happily just take a playoff place, which in the end we weren't happy with. But anyway, but yeah, and I just think we were flying, and then it just went so wrong. I think, we'll come back to the manager, but I think the team itself, our key players from the pre-season we know about didn't, we lost players late on, Kitchen, Norwood, etc. But then also we, like the injuries we had, Connell played probably a third of the season and was, as much as I adore the guy, I don't think he was anywhere near as good as he was the season before. Phillips didn't really start at all, and then obviously was suspended, and just key players. Herbie Kane, very inconsistent. Cole, amazing, then non-existent. I just think, the players, I think a lot of the players let Neil Collins down massively. Now, whether it was his fault because something wasn't right, we'll never know, but I do think the players let him down. If we're talking about players that I was impressed with, I would say that MDG massively came out of this season with his head held high, because after that horrendous start that he had, it would have been so easy for a young lad coming into a new country playing football at a level he's probably never played before. It would have been dead easy, I guess, for him to just go away and hide and never see him again. And I thought he got better and better towards the end of the season. He was probably one of our most consistent players. He played across the back three with a number of other players. McCart at times who weren't up to it, I don't think. Williams, who struggled in the back three. Then Earl joined him, and then he had Pines, then he had to move out. And I just thought he was great. He was good at bringing the ball out. Yeah, he also had some wobbles late on, but I think across the season, I thought he was outstanding. And I look forward to next year having him, knowing that we've got him, Earl, Pines, hopefully Lapata back, etc., playing well. I don't know, but no, I think he comes out of the season with his head well and truly held high for an outstanding season on his behalf. I think Roberts deserves a shout, but again, I think he finished wobbly, to say the least.
I feel like wobbly is a great way to describe that last little bit of the season.
Yeah, I mean, suddenly forgot how to defend free kicks and things, didn't it? But so yeah, I think the players did all right.
5 out of 10 then?
Yeah, I would probably go 5. Yeah,
Middle of
I mean, first half 8, 9, second half 3, 4. So yeah, I'd sit bang on in the middle, 5.
Seems like it's very consistent. Tom, what a lovely feature you've got there in the back of your background, looking very smart and suave and not plain and boring like mine.
Well, I didn't want any complaints about my background, so I thought I'd make an effort.
So
you've
just going to make it work for me. What did you think of the player sort of last season? Because as I think probably all of us will say or agree at some point, it almost felt like a season of two halves.
Yeah, definitely. Although I don't think we ever played to his potential for a full 90 minutes. Well, certainly parts of the first half of the season, you could see glimpses of what Collins wanted to do, and the players seemed to want to play for him. Come January, it just all fell apart. And you look at key players, and they just didn't seem to put the effort in anymore. Whether they didn't get the January transfer window move that they wanted, and they sort of threw Teddy out at court, or they just decided they didn't want to play for him anymore. I don't know, but certainly, like Cole, first half of the season, he seemed to have an extra yard of pace compared to last season. He was running for everything. He was getting his goals. He looked sharp, and then just wasn't there, like Tracy said. non-existent. Herbie Kane, I mean, I think he's very moody, mangy. My two went for a mascot's day, and you got to go in dressing room, meet players, everybody chatting, having a really, having a laugh with each other, joking. Connell asked our Isaac who's going to score. He said you. He says, I want you to score. You're my favourite player. And he says, yeah, I'm not going to score. I can hit a world and keeper will save it. He says, basically get your money on Cadden to score. It'll bounce off his bum and go in. And they were all just having a laugh and a joke. Herbie Kane nowhere to be seen. And as we walked out, you could see he was just in a corner in a room on his own, playing on his phone, not interacting with anybody else. And it was just a bit, I don't know, it was like he didn't want to be there. And I felt like that almost showed towards the end of the season that the yellow card he picked up when I think he got one game to go for the ban to pass, and he picked up a yellow card for dissent for absolutely nothing, and then stormed off up the tunnel, and it just seemed to be fractured. And I feel like it would have. I think Craig said it the other day that it was just a team of individuals and not a team. So I don't know. There's individual players that I think came out with credit. I mean, as much as Williams got slated, I thought he was professional all the way to end. I mean, basically diving at the feet of someone who's about to strike the ball with his face to block it. I mean, who's going to do that if they don't really want to be here? So I think he got a lot of stick that I don't think he deserved. MDG, yeah, he's been fantastic for the vast majority of the season. McAtee, he's been good, but again, a lone player, so he's not going to be here. It's hard to pick out because you think first half of the season it was really good, and it felt like they wanted to work for each other, and it just felt like the Bolton game sort of broke them, and it was just like, well, what's the point in trying anymore? It almost felt like they gave up at that point. So up until the second half of the Bolton game, I would probably say it would be like a 7 or an 8, but for the entire season, probably a 5, maybe even a 4.
Ooh.
It's there's not a lot of positives, to be honest with you.
I think like it's just a weird season because as you mentioned, there was like you think of the summer in which we've had last summer that is of losing Kitchen, losing Mads, Bobby Thomas going back, Brad Collins leaving, Isted was coming then didn't come because of Duff leaving, and you sort of look at that and you think, well, expectations need to go down now of sort of the half rebuild we've got to do. We've got the midfield and forward still intact, but I think it's just how annoying the goals were in which we conceded as well. It's like teams didn't really have to work to score against us necessarily. We'd do something at some point and we'd concede and it'd be like, here we go again. And it just felt like that accumulation of sort of soft goals in which we concede, and especially on the Herbie Kane thing. I think in January when he had that weird interview with Adam Oxley, and it just like I think from then on, it sort of I think he lost the fans himself in that, but I think from that. Didn't he go on for like the next 4 or 5 games where he scored or assisted after that interview?
Yeah.
It's a really weird time.
There were two really weird interviews with Kane, if I remember. One where Connell had just come back and Adam Oxley were trying to ask him about it. Are you really happy that your teammate's back? And he just sort of went, oh, yeah, whatever. And it was just like really, it was just odd. You'd have been like, oh yeah, he's brilliant, he's back. But it was just, I don't know, it definitely wasn't up for chatting to the media. He just, whether it's his personality or what, but he came across really poor in both interviews.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's a weird one. Of you can't really tell too much from it because it's only 10 minutes of speaking to him, so you can't really use too much from that. But yeah, it did seem around certain times of the season that down tools, let's say, or he weren't running that extra half yard. Go on then, Joe. I'm excited. So why is it
Oh, yeah.
in this season that you're going to give us?
Oh, so we're doing players, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know what?
players.
I'm going to be a proper happy clapper. You wouldn't have expected this, would you guys? And I'm going to start off by saying just to add an extra category in there, just all hardworking staff at Barnsley. We don't often get a mention. It's an hard gig sometimes. Obviously football club, fast-paced industry. I know quite a few of them. I know they work the socks off. So I just want to say 10 out of 10 for you guys, because you're brilliant. All you hardworking lot who work at club behind the scenes. Now I can stop being happy clapper. I'm putting that behind me. Change, man. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Tracy and Tom have said there, Josh. To be honest, I think that it feels a little bit like we've had three categories of players. We've got some new lads who have got talent. You Davinia and Earl and Corey O'Keefe towards the end of the season really started to show what he's about. I think you've got players that needed that season to get the mistakes out there, learn from it, and sort of start to get established, like we've seen with others, like Mads Anderson in the past. We know his first season was something we remember, and then he got so much better now, obviously playing with Luton. So when I look at that, I think we had that category of players. Then we had the category of players who probably knew that they were going to go at the end of the season. I don't know about you guys, but if you know you're not going to be there, it's hard to fully put everything into it for me. That's my opinion. And I think that made it tough sometimes for them to put it all in, or at least it appeared that way. And it just felt very disjointed, to be honest. And then obviously you've got your lone lads as well, who I thought, to be fair, McAtee didn't feel like a lone player. It was one of those, don't fall in love with him because he's going back end of season sort of scenarios, because he did just graft and he put everything in. But it just felt for me, yeah, we had a spell mid-season. We had some good moments. I think a couple of Macca's goals and, the Phillips against Leighton Orient. There were some moments where, first game at season. But overall, it just felt disjointed. I never felt like we really were a team. It just felt like we were just individuals and kind of trying to make something happen that never really came together. It started to come together a little bit. When Pines got in there as well, I think he really showed us up for the games that he was fit. And then obviously with his injury, and we all know that from the Bolton game onwards, that final 12 games, we only won 2 and in the final 6 didn't win. So yeah, it just went really downhill very quickly. So for me, I'm with these guys. I'll probably give it a 5. I don't want to damage my happy clapper reputation entirely, but yeah, 5 for me.
No, I think it's a good point though, in terms of having sort of 3 like subcategories of players, because I think you can group them into that quite nicely, of sort of understanding where they all sit. And I think that's where you've sort of mentioned the individuals, because it was moments of individual quality that went and won us games or won us points. Like Roberts in the first half of the season probably got us 12 points from the saves which he pulled off. And then, like you mentioned there, like Phillips' strike against Derby, the quality of the finishes from McAtee at times during the season, like it did seem like it was just flashes of individual brilliance and not a game that we necessarily got older by the scruff of the neck and went, right, here we go. This is how we play. We're going to set this upon you. There's always a chance in a game where another team would come back to us regardless of where they were. I mean, think back to that Cheltenham game when nothing just came off, and it's just like that was such a great opportunity at that time to put a bit of pressure on, and we just seemed to struggle. So yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it in terms of breaking down some 3 subcategories as well.
Yeah, and I think if I was to add a 4th one, and Tracy mentioned it, would be the sort of established players, but it's a very small category because you're looking at the players that aren't going to leave but are established. Your Connells out for quite a big part of the season, Adam Phillips. There's only a small amount of those that we feel are established, definitely League One players, possibly could push towards Championship, and have had that season under the belt. And that's probably where we really struggled. We didn't have enough experience in that. I'm using the E word. Go on then, Josh. I'm expecting big things, mate, from your. You've not given yours yet?
Oh, no, I haven't done my rating yet
Go
because I'm the host. I say impartial from these things. I don't like to force my words into people's mouths and them kind of things. But I think if I was to give a rating, I think I'd sit with a 5. I think it was an average season coming to the end of it. Glimpse of quality in around there, but just not enough consistency within that side. There weren't enough players for me that were like every week in, week out, you're getting 7 out of 10 from them. There were too much one week a 10 out of 10, next week 2. And I think that showed in the in the way in which he played and also the form. The one thing I think that we'll go into it next of that probably cost Neil Collins a lot of time in terms of order to take on the playoff games is that the form was the wrong way around. Of if we had the away form at home, it would have had the fans on side a lot more. But because what everyone was seeing week in, week out was patchy form at best with not entertaining football, I think that definitely sort of made the board act a lot quicker than what they did do. So speaking of Neil Collins race, because I think it's very harsh to give Martin Devaney a rating, given that he had all of 3 games in which he got a win, loss and draw. So Neil Collins this season came in very late. I want to say it was the 15th of July that he came in. That might be wrong. I'll just pull that top of my head. So he came in fairly late, a very disjointed pre-season. Cancellations of friendlies left, right, and centre. I think we lost 8-0 to Leeds under 23s at one point as well. It wasn't a great preparation for the season, but he came in late. I think the Duffin caught the ball by surprise. So the first month realistically was pre-season for him to actually see the players, and we got off to a great start with that 7-0 at Port Vale. And I do remember someone on that instant reaction said that 7-0 papered over a lot of cracks. Now, I'm not sure if you remember this, Joe, but I think I might have said that.
Hey, that's ages ago. I've slept since
just-
then. No idea. Are you sure it
just
weren't
saying.
me? I think it was me.
No, I'm not sure about that. There was someone that did say that 7-0 was a little bit of a weird result. It might have thrown up. But Neil Collins, overall, I did feel a little bit sorry for him personally with the end of the season, not being able to see us sort of through into the playoffs. But I could understand it a little bit. How did you think that Neil Collins did overall?
Well, I'm against the grain, aren't I? Because I really like the guy. I just thought he needed a bit more time. I think the problem we had was that the football we were playing was poor, dull. I think it was dull. It was not exciting, and we then started to hit that horrendous run of form. And like you say, we weren't good at all. We've debated this a few times this season of would we take dull football and winning, or really attractive football and not be winning. And I always debate with Craig, because Craig's like, oh, well, I just want attractive football. I don't mind if we get beat. Well, I sit on the other side of the fence, unfortunately, because I just want to win. And I'd take dull football if we were winning 1-0 every week. Now, I know that's up for debate in itself. And I just think that Collins was given pretty much an impossible job. For him to be sacked for us in the playoff positions, when I think realistically we were probably lucky to be there, from what he'd come in late, etc. We all know the story. He came in late, players sold from around him. You know, Alan Smith, Kitchen's going nowhere. A week later, gone. Norwood's playing in all your pre-seasons as your main man. A week later, we've sold him to a non-league team. I genuinely think the guy must have been thinking, what have I done? He's brought his family from Tampa to Barnsley, must regret that. And I just genuinely think that it just was dealt an hand. I don't really know what else he could have done. I've heard a lot about plan B. Again, with the players he had at his disposal, I'm not sure what else he could have done. I really don't know. You know, play wingers. Have we got any wingers? I'm not sure. Is Barry Cotter the best winger we have? Possibly. Then we don't play wingers.
That might be some bias there.
Yeah, so I don't know. And the sacking of him, I personally thought it was ridiculous. But I stand by my opinion, and it is my opinion, that was done purely to sell season tickets. That's what I think. I think the season ticket sales were very low at that stage, and they thought, well, we've got to try and do something here. And that's like I said, my opinion, nothing else. Would it have made a difference? We'll never know. We might have never got in the playoffs. We might have won the playoffs. We'll never know. But I genuinely think he did a decent job. And as we've said in the bit about the players, I think some of the players let him down. I really do. Now, again, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. It might have been his fault. It might have been awful. It might not have been a coach that could motivate, I really don't know. But I've not heard anything to say that wasn't the case. So I just don't know. Something didn't click, did it? And I think what was most disappointing for me was we never, as a fan base, I don't think we ever gave him a chance, because we disliked him from the minute he walked through the door, because A, we wanted Duff to stay, and B, who's Neil Collins? Who were Tampa Bay Rowdies? And we all wanted somebody bigger, like we did this year. Hopefully, Darryl Clark, I think, has got a better reputation coming into the role, and I think already I've seen more positivity about him than about Collins. And I felt a bit sorry for the guy, I genuinely did, because I thought the fans never gave him a chance. Never. Why? I don't know. I think it's that. I think that we just thought he weren't good enough. How can he be good enough for League One? And you know what? He did all right. You look at we've just talked about Charlton. Well, they should have done better. You know, we've talked about Bolton and Ian Evatt. Yeah, all right. But they're still in the same position as us. They're still in League One next year. And they were in a far better place than we were, with a far better squad, bigger fan base, etc. And in reality, they finished in exactly the same place as us. So, you know, don't be wrong. Am I glad Darryl Clark's in for next year? Absolutely, I am. 100%.
So, what's your rating out of 10?
7.
7. Len Goodman. It's
Yeah.
good to see. No, I think there's some good points. Like, obviously, just the entire situation that he inherited straight off the bat wasn't great, and I think I agree that a lot of fans weren't happy just because it was a case of Tampa Bay Rowdies not even MLS. It's the league below that, and that you can't go up or down from. So, is it really a competitive league kind of thing? And I get that. I understand people's reservations about it, but give the bloke a chance. And I don't think he got a fair crack of the whip. I think there's some people who were tolerable of it, but I think once there was an opportunity to start digging knives in, they were getting dug in at the first opportunity, and I did feel sorry for him in the end. Tom, what about you? Where do you sit with Neil Collins this season?
I'm with Tracy. I thought it would help.
Neil Collins fan club here.
Yeah, I genuinely thought he at the beginning of the season was trying to play decent football. We were trying to attack, but I think the key game that I think he realised that he couldn't go all out attack, play a high line and do a high press was the Portsmouth game. We conceded a goal, and straight away it's like, right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna bomb upfield. We all bombed upfield. They played a ball straight over top and scored. 30 seconds after we'd conceded to make it 2-0, and it would we were too slow at the back with a keeper that basically refused to leave his 18-yard box. If you're playing a high line, you need a keeper that's going to come out and sweep. So we got a goalkeeper that wasn't comfortable with his feet and basically refused to come out of his 18-yard box to sweep up. We were playing Williams as a centre-back for his recovery pace to try and combat that, but he couldn't do it on his own. And I just felt like Collins decided at that point, right, I'm going to scrap nice football. I'm going to just try and grind out wins. And it worked. Right at the beginning, I thought we had a really fluid front three, front four. Basically, you'd see Phillips join the front two and make it a three. You'd see McAtee and Phillips drop back, and Cole would be on his own, and it basically become a box midfield. And there were things changing within games. Pretty much after the Portsmouth game, we became very rigid. It was basically a back five, and it was just the same sort of patterns of play. And we'll just keep hold of the ball, and we'll just try and pass it round, and we'll create a bit of space. But then teams never pressed us, so then we just sort of stood about. All right, let's just ping it forward, and we'll just play a hopeful ball, and hopefully Cole will get an end of it, or McAtee will get an end of it. and just certain individual brilliance from McAtee or Cole or even Phillips, and we'd get a goal and we'd win game by just individual things rather than a team play. But I think that was just down to personnel. I think he realised that his defence was so poor compared to last year. I mean, basically last year we got a championship defence. You know, you look, we've got Bobby Thomas with pace, we've got Mads Anderson with pace, you've got Kitchen in there. You know, the two of them are at Coventry. You've got Mads at Luton. We've got two keepers that are willing to come out and sweep the ball. Well, three actually, because you're talking Collins. Oh yeah,
Highstead.
Highstead. Oh, other one I was trying to think of, to be honest with you, we sent him to Luton and got Highstead.
Jack Walton.
Walton. Yeah, we got all three were willing to come off the line and sweep up, but we just didn't have that this year. And I think Collins basically decided my tactic's going to be is we defend and we try and not concede. And up until January, it worked, but then when it stopped working, it was poor football to watch, and if you're losing, it's not good. But I get why you did it. It's not like it's sort of like Mourinho tactics. It's like let's just grind out. I was going to say 1-0, but it were always 2-1 because Andy seems to
you were always 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 it guaranteed. Mostly because we conceded early doors and we had to get two. But it's a weird one. I feel really sorry for Collins because he was just sold such a bad hand. He got players that were never really going to play. I mean, how many went out on loan basically straight away after signing? Yeah, and then in January transfer window, I felt like you needed two defenders anyway. And then as soon as we signed two, we sent two out on loan, and sort of we were back to square one anyway. And we were desperate for another midfielder because, I mean, midfield in first half at season were John Russell and Phillips, and you know, Russell is a squad player. He does a job. I used to call him a wardrobe because he's just sort of there, slow, don't really move, but he's hard to get round. But he's not a great player. He's just there to sort of help out. So any injuries in midfield, and he were back in. We desperately needed a midfielder. We signed Grant, and he just didn't seem to get a game. It was a weird one. I think I understand what he did, but I think he didn't help himself when I think he sort of panicked towards end of season as well, and sort of clutching at straws, just sort of, I'm going to try this, I'm going to throw this player in, and we just didn't seem to have any consistency. And I think, I don't know, I'd have probably dropped some senior players that weren't performing for him, and maybe give some youth a chance. But I'm going to go for a 6. It'd have probably been a little bit higher, but there are a couple of things in there that I don't really think helped him. I think he should have played more exciting football against sort of lesser teams, and then played his more methodical tactics against better sides. You sort of look at the you've got your Boltons, your Peterboroughs, let's defend against them, but your Carlisles, Cheltenhams, let's just throw kitchen sink at them. Let's just have a go because we've got the talent there. But yeah,
the thing I found so weird about that is the sort of progression which we saw when we played Peterborough and Portsmouth start of the season, losing 3-1 and 3-2. Sort of, as you mentioned there, Tom, it was sort of a game of we realised how quick it can turn on you. If you do press and you're out of position, you can get caught, especially in that Portsmouth game. But then looking at the second half of the season, when we did press high against the better sides, when we played Bolton at home, when we played Peterborough away, we had success with it. And the thing that I didn't understand is you've got the blueprint. It works. It worked all last season. It worked the last time we we're in League One. You know that this style is successful in this league, and playing against a better side when we are doing it, we are now better. And he's still reverted back to the defensive setup against sides that we shouldn't have been setting up in that way against. That was the thing that really, really confused me. I think 6 and 7 it's fair. It's fair for the end result. Joe, where do you sit with it? Because I think Tom's made a good point there in terms of how we've seen the start of the season, especially that Port Vale game, and then we had a little bit of a lull against Bristol Rovers where we probably should have lost that game, and then it was just hit and miss for the first part, and then sort of all October time we finally settled into a groove, into a rhythm, and it's really weird when you look at, I think he's the all-time best away record that we've had. Went as longest scoring streak, I think, or joint longest scoring streak in any league, and then also like one of the best away records in the league. It feels so strange to have had all the accolades, most points from behind as well that we've had, but which I think is a false start. It is just weird though to have all of them things and still be undecided and unsure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with Tracy. I really feel for Neil. I desperately wanted him to do well. I really wanted him to do well. You know, he showed the commitment to come from, like you said, Florida to come to Barnsley. You know,
He
which
just
is a
had
big
time to been
move.
redeveloped. That's why.
Yeah, it's the bridge. It was the bridge. You saw the
He did
bridge
a
and
big
thought, you know,
big TK Maxx. You were sold.
it is a nice bridge and it is a good TK Maxx. But anyway, yeah. So you know, his commitment was there. From all I hear, he was so hardworking, desperate to sort of make it work. Really worked hard, and yeah, it's tough because I feel for him. I agree totally with Tracy that I think that he started in a, you know, just coming in already. There was this negative feeling around, oh, we've lost Michael Duff. We were so close to getting into the championship. Kitchen's gone, so and so's got it, it's like a rebuild again. So he was starting from a place where he almost had to win the fans over, which wasn't really fair on him. So the second that things didn't go right, he was getting criticised for it. And I agree with a lot of the assessment in terms of the style of play. I think ultimately for me, Tracy talked about entertainment versus results. When we're in the championship, I don't care how well we play. If we win 1-0 and it's one, we've only had one shot on target and the opposition's had 30, I'm happy. I'm happy that I'll take that just because it's that league. We know where we're at as Barnsley in the championship. In League One, I do want to be excited. And I don't want to be harsh, but I've got to be really honest and just say I did find quite a lot of it boring to watch at times, particularly against the lower sides. In second half of the season, when we played like Peterborough first half, you said that press, Josh. I thought we were brilliant. The way Cole and McAtee pressed in that first half against Peterborough, I really enjoyed that. And I started to think, oh, maybe we're back. Maybe we're starting to get that Barnsley identity we know and love. But then I look at the games like Cambridge and we're losing at home and we're just passing it around the back and it's just really slow. And then we hit it long and it's just coming straight back at us. And I'm just thinking, come on, just get on with it. Like I don't mind playing out from the back if a team's coming to press us. But when a team's happy to sit, you're not really gaining much of an advantage if they're just going to sit back. They're not coming forward to you, so you're not really gaining anything. So for me, I just feel like that did not work, and maybe we didn't adapt well enough when we were playing, you know, some of these teams that were lower down. And in them particular games, I did find it hard to get excited, to be honest, at the style of play. And I think that ultimately, with the results, is what sort of cost him his job. But I do think he did a really good job with the away results, and I really wish him all the best. And I think he definitely deserves another crack at a League One team or Championship side at some point, and I'm sure he'll get that opportunity because I think he is a good manager. He's just a young manager as well. We have to remember that it's like his second professional job as a manager, so hopefully he can learn from it. And and we'll see him back in Football League soon. But I would give him a 6.5. Would have been a 7, but style of play just found it hard to watch at times. Sometimes.
For that. Do we allow halves?
It depends. Your next one has to be an half, so you have to finish on a full number.
There we go.
Score.
I can do that.
That's the only way we can do halves.
So ball's getting an half then.
1.5 or just half.
Just an half.
No, I think it's a very good point, sort of the season as a whole. To be honest, for me, I think it was very lethargic at times, and the moments and times in which we did press, we saw results. Cambridge away, when we went and put 4 by in first half, it was just like, well, this is what happens when you press, like, especially against those sides that we should be imposing the way in which we play against them. I understand completely when we play at home, sides are going to sit in and just be like, we'll play for a draw or try and get out on break when we can. Whereas I think that's probably why we had a little bit more success away of, no matter really who you're playing, you're expected when you're at home to at least have a go at it, not sit in all game. I think probably why we saw a little bit more success when we played away from home as opposed to when we played at home, especially against some lower sides, because they just sat in 10 behind the ball. The Northampton game for me summed it up, of Northampton nothing to play for, just sat in all game and still got something from it, without really creating anything. And I was like, that has rounded off the season perfectly. I know Neil Collins wasn't in charge for that game, but it just rounded it off for me. I've been like, this is exactly what we've done all season, of not really be under any threat, not really be under any pressure, and somehow we've thrown a goal in there, which was very par for the course. I think I'll be slightly harsher and go for a 6, just because the moments in which we did see success, we never seemed to progress and go further and actually go for the jugular and move further on. We always just seem to revert back to that pragmatic style of play, which it was just annoying more than anything else. So moving on to the board, everybody's favourite topic. And somehow we've had a massively eventful season of it. There can't be a side that's more entertaining to follow in terms of there's always something going on. So obviously we had the massive lag time between Duff being sacked, well, not sacked, sorry, moving on to Swansea, and then Collins been hired, which ultimately cost us a few players as well, and which we know of Eisted have not coming our way because of Duff moving on and not really been reactive to see what's coming in terms of someone taking over. Then we also had the really weird pre-season, which partly down to the board in terms of taking ages to get Collins in. We had the Fanatics deal, which wasn't great. Glad Andy's not here, so we don't get another Fanatics rant. So that means that can be covered quickly. FA Cup expulsion as well within there, and then Khalid leaving and the new guy coming in. But at least he's made a little bit of difference. So we've got a manager in, and it's not even June yet. So suppose there's slight improvements being made. But overall, Tracy, in terms of the board, where do you sit with it? I think last week Craig was the harshest with a 3 or a 4. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been a 3.
I mean, if you put if you did an advantage and a disadvantages of the board for the last season, the disadvantages would probably outweigh everything, because you look at, like you've just listed there, just made a hash of things. And the things that probably upset me most about it all was that it was stupid things that you just think we're a professional sports club that should know better. There's amateur teams that are run better or were that don't get thrown out of the FA Cup, for example. The Fanatics deal, all right, we don't know how much of it was out of their control, but they made the agreement with that company. The big bugbear for me from the board, there's probably 2 things. One is recruitment. I think recruitment this season has been probably the worst it's been for a long time. As Tom mentioned, the signings we made pre-season, I have no issue in it's not unbeknown to us that we find diamonds in the rough. That's what we do, but we didn't find any diamonds close. And if we did, then the likes of Mabila, Parter and Shepherd, I agree that Shepherd probably did need to go out on loan, but it left us short, and clearly we had no foresight to think, well, have we got can we recall either of these, or we just were left with, I don't know, it just seemed the recruitment was dire. I think the January recruitment was probably the worst, because I think if we'd recruited well in January, we could have at that point gone on and really challenged for second, and the recruitment in January was awful. Pine's all right, but let's be honest, he weren't fit when he came. It took him a month to get fit. Then clearly he was never fit, because I think that's probably what cost him. He certainly wasn't up to the pace. Probably then cost him an injury that's ruled him out for the rest of the season, maybe into the start of next year. Conor Grant, yeah, he did all right, but it's somebody from MK Dons. With all due respect to MK Dons, I just don't think he weren't even one of their starters, and we got him on loan. It was just bizarre. And you know, if recruitment is taken out of the head coach's hands, which I'm led to believe it is, that they have nothing to do with recruitment, then it's got to be better, because it was dire. And the other thing, that it came to the end of the season, and I talked to the people that I went to the game with. When we played in the playoffs last year, a couple of us went to a meeting, and there was a massive positivity around the club. What can we do to make Oakwell hostile? We all had the sheets held up. We made it a party.
We didn't see West End.
Well, no, but
we didn't see West End.
You're almost though. Almost.
They got binned.
We pushed everything into the playoff push. You know, we really. I know we went in a better position in terms of we went in with more momentum, but actually towards the end of that last season, we didn't finish as strong as people think we finished. I know we weren't as bad, but anyway, and I just think we went into the playoffs this year, and the town was flat, the club was flat. I know sacking Collins, but you'd have thought actually that would ignite, because people wanted him sacking. Most of the fans wanted him sacking, and it was as if we were just playing another couple of games. We didn't do anything to ignite any sort of atmosphere. You know, the flamethrowers. I know I'm talking about all the cheesy stuff that we did, but do you know what? That's what gets people excited. That's what gets people. We didn't do any publicity. You know, last year it was like, who can take posters? Can we get them in schools? Can we get them in the town? What can we do? Can we get flat? Everything. It was just push. We're going to Wembley. We're going to win. And this year it was like, well, we're going to lose, aren't we? Before we've even started. So what's the point in spending the money? I felt that's how the board went into the playoffs. I really do. And I think Martin Devine did an all right job. And, you know, by hook or by crook, we nearly actually got out. We nearly got there. But and I think with a bit more positivity, we probably could have, because it showed that Bolton actually were there for the taking. So those two things niggle me big time this year. Recruitment and I just didn't think they gave us the backing. I'm not talking financially. I'm just talking positivity. They didn't come out and just publicise it and get behind the club. Yeah, I found that really disheartening at the end of the season. For me, it just highlighted how we were all probably feeling. But from them, they should have done the direct opposite. On the flip side, I go back to the Tom conversation he had with the money guy, who actually spoke extremely well about how we're run and how we look after our finances and we are above board. Well, we'll see what the EFL dockers, but generally speaking, we're above board. Yeah, but they even came out and saw that, and I just think I'd rather probably support a team where we're not at risk of going into liquidation or being fined huge amounts or whatever. Again, I'm touching wood because I don't know what's coming. But, you know, he spoke quite well about how well run we are, actually. And I know that, you know, the board members are ploughing their own money into our club, and fair play. I have to say fair play for that. And the other thing that I have to mention, and I know it won't go down well with a lot of people that watch this, but they've been fantastic for the women's team, and I've got to give them a pat on the back for that. Because having played for, I said this before, having played for many, many, many years and having zero support from the football club, Julianne in particular has been directly opposite of what I've just said about not promoting the men's team. She has been amazing for the women's team, and her and Jean, I can't say anything but positivity for that. So, but I'm still only giving him a 4. Because I think it was there for the taking. This season was there for the taking. And I now fear that we might be stuck in League One for a while, whereas I think this year was the year we could have got out. I really do.
Yeah, I think, it is. It's almost a little bit difficult because there's so many elements which feed into how you could judge the board necessarily. I mean, if you are talking about like the positivity and publicity of the women's team, fantastic. That's been really, really great. But I'd not even thought about myself in terms of like almost a negligence of the playoffs. It was like, we're in it, by the way. If you want to come down and watch us, there's tickets on sale for playoff semis if you fancy it. It was never really massive. There was never really a massive push. And one thing that I had forgot, Tom, is obviously the Thalhammer debacle in which we had as well of is here, is ready to, he signed, or wait, he can't get a work permit, which I think ties in so much into the recruitment of this season.
Maybe it was a tactical stroke of luck for us to get Darrell Clark, because I don't know about you, but I'm far happier with that appointment.
I know. I always like it when it's someone weird and random because you can get anything. You can get Val or you can get Shop, and I just like living life on the edge in that in regards to that of are we going to be in a relegation battle or are we walking this league? There's no in between. We're doing one or the other.
I'm just gutted we didn't sign him. So you could have put like it's Hammer time as a title when we finally won a game.
I wonder if it wore baggage, like baggage, like MC Hammer did.
Yeah. Get Al to do a little dance across the screen.
Really ruined all our content with that work permit.
Really did, didn't it?
So where do you sit? Where do you sit with Bod, Tom, this season? Because it's just it's not an hard one. There's just so much.
Yeah. We just look so tin pot. We look so amateur. Yeah, it's just it takes forever to appoint Collins, which ruins us pre-season. Then we can't decide on Aidan Marsh being able to play in an FA Cup, which should be really simple. You mentioned Fanatics. You couldn't get a home shirt until sort of, I think, 4th or 5th game into the season. You couldn't get an away shirt until well after that. And this one, like rocking horse. Yeah. And you just can't, you couldn't get them. So that was just poor. Yeah, January transfer signings. Already said we were desperate for 2 defenders before it started. We signed 2 and then sent 2 out on loan, so we're back to square one. I think we were over reliant on Cole, so I think maybe signing a striker in January would have been good. We desperately needed a midfielder, and like Tracy said, we signed Grant from MK Dons, and then he probably played 4 or 5 games. I seem to remember him against Burton Albion. He came on for a little while, and obviously 2 playoff games he came on for cameos, which I thought he actually played really well. But again, if you're not going to play him, what sort of point in signing him? He's just a waste of a wage. You just sort of throwing money away. For me, if you're going to sign somebody, it needs to improve your squad. There's just no point in making signings if they're not going to improve you. Especially loan signings. I mean, do you know what I mean? You need them in there. There's just no point in not playing them. Yeah, the women's stuff's really good. The promoted that, which I think is absolutely fantastic. But again, sort of reading room, we're going into playoffs, and you've got Julianne tweeting about women's game, not a mention about the men's. Where's the winning playoffs? Come on, let's get behind them, sort of stuff. It was just there nothing really from club. It just felt, I don't know, just a real disconnect. Then, like you said, Thalhammer, how somebody can't just quickly Google how long do we need, how can we get a work permit? Oh, right, we're not going to get one for this guy, let's just not bother. Surely they could have done some due diligence with that. It can't take that much to have it basically leaked out by most at press because they've been told, oh, he's signing, and then go, oh, actually, we've made a mistake. We've made a massive cock up. So then we've sacked Collins early. when we're in fifth to get him in, and then he's not coming in. So then we just sort of stumbled into playoffs, and it just feels like a massive missed opportunity this season. Like all those players, there's 5 end of contract. There's three in McAtee and Robertson, McCart that are going back from loan. So vast majority of his side, it's a rebuild. So this season it just seems like almost a waste of the season. And for that, I feel Board's let Collins down and probably players down as well. Because why have we not tried getting contracts to players or it seems like we haven't tried. It don't, because the rumours of sort of Williams going to Rotherham and there's nobody coming in for as players that I think, yeah, it's a massive step up. So surely we, in last year's sort of player retainment list, it said we offered contracts to certain players. In this one, it didn't even say that. It just feels like we haven't even bothered trying. I don't know. It's a 3 from me, to be honest with you. It's just really, I just feel that they don't really get it. It's like the heart's there, they're trying, but they just don't know what they're doing. And I'm hoping that this new director of football is their way of just saying, like, we'll take a step back and we'll let football matters be dealt with by somebody else, and hopefully things will improve. But this season's been poor.
They got off to a good start with Thalhammer anyway, of making them decisions better.
Well,
it's when you said though that it's sort of things that a professional side should know, that if you are appointing someone or bringing someone in from another country, given Brexit laws and everything now, the first thing should be, can we get them? Like,
yeah,
can we get them? Yes or no? Because that's going to immediately thin down a list. If you want to go down the European route of a European manager, player, whatever, first question is, can we sign them? Yes or no? The same as we had to do with DK. We had to wait for him to play for America before we could sign him, because from my understanding, Dave Murphy sorted it out and we're waiting until that friendly that he played in, so then he qualified for points, so then we could actually sign him. So the club as a whole knows that process of, you have to wait for someone to qualify for points or qualify for the way to actually come to the club. So it's not something brand new. It's not like work permits came into force last year. Like, this has been something that's been around for years. So why that's not question number 1? Can we sign them? Yes or no? That should have been that for me, of like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
Next target. Instead of going all the way down, then going, anyone checked if we can actually sign this bloke or not? Because I've sent off his visa application and someone's turned around and said no. And I'm like, that's so weird, as if that's happened. Like, it's things like that really grate on me. And I think I get the thing with the communications of and the way in which they're trying, because they try with the fan forums to get people on, to allow people to vent frustrations, ask questions, and be more open. And then when it comes to end of things, like, judges by his actions, and it's like, well, when you look at the actions that you've then portrayed for the season, it's not saying that statement of now, like, the motto of the club. It comes all the way back around to being like, judged by his actions. Well, these are the actions we've seen that have negatively impacted us, and the positive side is a little bit lower than what we've seen in a poor. Like, so it gives people the opportunity then to be like, what are you doing? And like, I think sometimes they're almost not too open, but they open themselves up to criticism very, very easily, to the board, in the way in which they do things and the way in which they handle certain situations. It's not great at times. So, Joe, I'll let you finish off
Shall I bring some happy clap into the room? I feel like we're just all a little bit,
I just want to see how
just down in the dumps.
how you can spin this.
Yeah, do you know what?
I'm
I've not had
interested.
pelters on Twitter for a while, so I feel like I might as well get myself some. I think the first thing to say is running a football club, it's tough. I want to acknowledge that before I do the criticism stuff, because it is tough. It's not easy. There's a lot to, it's all on you. You're the leaders. We expect a lot as fans because we love this football club. We believe in it. We want the best for our town and our football club. And we expect, every person who represents our football club, from the board to the managers, to the players, whoever it is, to do their absolute best and give it everything. But I do want to acknowledge it's not easy. But yeah, I mean, just the long list of things you've said, guys. And then I think the main thing for me is, well, actually, first I'll do one more positive. This one really will get me some stick, I think, but I'm going to defend Julianne because I think I watch on X and Twitter, X, whichever one you want to call it, and she is so positive, like you said, Tracy, about the women's team. And I think sometimes we have got to separate the two. And I know sometimes it's a case of fans thinking, well, read the room, we've just lost, the men's team's just lost. But what I would say to fans, and this is how I see it, is I separate the two. I think the women's team stuff this season has been exceptional. I think they've done an amazing job, and I love to see it because I think it's brilliant that it's inspiring more young girls in Barnsley to want to play football. And it's great to see the development of the women's team. So I think if you can put that to one side as separate the two emotions, that's amazing. Obviously, on the other side, the men's team, we know what the situation is with that. But I do think fair play to Julianne. She continues to put herself out there and she gets a lot of stick, which I think, quite a lot of it is unfair and unwarranted. And it's just, where can we sort of point a finger? So for me, I think we just need to remember that I do believe she's genuinely really passionate about our club and wants the best for us club. So I think we do, some people, not everybody, some people are just asking genuine questions and want to know answers. But for those who are abusive or not very nice, I think they need to knock it on the head. All that being said, yeah, I just think it's been really tough. The thing for me was when they sacked Neil Collins and they made that decision, I was sat there thinking, feel for Neil, as we've said, but ultimately it looked like we weren't going to win the playoffs. I think we could all agree we were going into that playoffs not expecting to win. That's the feeling that we've discussed, as Tracy mentioned earlier. So when they made that decision, I kind of thought, okay, well, that's a bold move. That's quite a big thing to do. So they kind of gave my respect a little bit. I thought it's slightly damaging in the sense that, future managers might look at that and think, well, Neil had done a great job. He got him into fifth place. Why I might not want to come work for you then if, you've sacked a manager when he was in the playoff places. So I do think it could have some, some issues with that and attracting other managers. In terms of being committed to managers and giving them the opportunity to finish the job, because I think Neil deserved that. But I thought, okay, fair enough, ball move. Clearly what they're going to do, they're going to go out and get an experienced manager in, maybe just for the playoffs, maybe just to get us into the playoffs and get us through that hurdle. And then, we'll have a real chance. It's that usual thing we see, fresh face comes into the club, somebody that's, got that experience, but also can just boost everybody, give them a different outlook. The other teams going into the playoffs would have gone, well, we don't know what to expect from this. What are we going to get? And we see it all the time when you change managers and you get a new face in, it lifts everybody. Now, I want to say this is not a criticism of Martin Devaney in any way. I absolutely love Disco. I think he's great, and I think he's going to be a fantastic coach. And I thought the way he developed into that third game, it was amazing to see the pride and it made me feel like we got us Barnsley back, the identity on the pitch with Cosgrove and the way we played. And I think he takes huge credit for that. But it was a really difficult thing to chuck him into them 3 games. And I really did just expect us to sign an experienced manager. I mean, the statement when they let Collins go was at the end, it said, fans will get updated in the coming days. Martin's in interim. There was not really anything to say, I know Waddin, the sporting director's now come out, and to be fair, I thought he spoke well, but has come out and said, no, we backed Martin to take it and we felt he was the man to do it. But why didn't you say that before? Give him that confidence. Tell us that at least. And then if it doesn't go right, fair enough. But for me, I just think we missed a massive opportunity. Getting to the championship is huge. Even if we don't feel we were ready for it, the financial implications of it just gives us a huge opportunity to, obviously boost the income of the club, boost the income of the town, make a massive difference, get everybody, and I just think we had that opportunity when we made that decision. If we'd have brought someone in, the obvious names are like your Neil Warnocks, maybe your Michael Duff, just even if it was just for the playoffs before he went to Huddersfield. I'm sure there were a manager out there that would have said, yeah, get another promotion on my CV. Yeah, I'm willing to take that. 3 games, short-term commitment, you know what I mean? I'm still in shock. I honestly am still in shock that we didn't do that, because I thought that was the purpose of letting Neil go. Otherwise, I felt it was very harsh on Neil to do that to him, and that's just my opinion. So for me, yeah, 3. Not very happy, clappy. But obviously, that's not including Darryl Clark, which I think is an excellent appointment. And as I said, I think Mladden, it's Mladden, isn't it? I think that's correct pronunciation.
Yeah.
Did his first interview when Darryl Clark came in. I think he spoke really well. I think that interview should have been done a few weeks before, obviously not announcing Darryl Clark, but a few weeks before, to explain some of the things around what the decision was with the playoffs, why, you know, we decided that, and to reassure fans that, yeah, well, obviously we know that they're working hard behind the scenes to get a manager in, but so you don't need to necessarily tell us that bit. But the stuff around the decision making around Neil's, you know, sacking and then sort of what we did in the playoffs, I think would have been really helpful. The only worrying point, I don't want to pick apart his interview because I did think he spoke really well in terms of saying getting on the front foot, wanting an attacking manager. Darryl Clark's obviously great, but he did say something in the interview that he said something along, we didn't want to make very much noise until we had some action, and we felt that fans would prefer action. And I guess the only thing I'd want to say is constructive criticism is that you can have both. You can have the communication and the action. Yeah, obviously, if you come out and just do a nothing interview, say, well, yeah, we're working hard, but it does reassure fans. And if where fans were waiting to see, some fans would have been on the fence over season tickets. I feel it could have really reassured people earlier. I would have appreciated if it had come out after the playoffs and just gone, look, we made this decision, or even before the playoffs and said we were backing Martin. That would have been the first thing. But after the playoffs, say, well, we made the decision to back Martin. We trust him. We think he's great. He did a fantastic job in a short space of time to try and get us through that tie. Almost achieved it in the end in that second game. Didn't work. We're now going to go rebuild, and we'll be working really hard to get in a gaffer that's that's going to bring back everything that he said around being on the front foot and getting that identity back with Barnsley and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that'd be my only thing, is I just feel we missed an opportunity there. And even though the decision to bring Darryl Clark in is an excellent one, feels like there's some learning we can do, and hopefully we can do it now, and we've got a good place to move on and rant over.
And I think it's a fair point there, because I think it is one of those things, especially in that time, because it was a little bit of a weird statement of saying is in the interim, like it was like almost like is in the interim for now, and it almost like it left it a little bit open ended of like, oh, he's on the interim, so there must be someone coming in, and if there's not, then don't say that. Just say Devaney's like we've got Renal Collins because we just want Devaney to have a bash at it, and they'll be like, it's fair. Would I agree with it? Not really, no. But at least then it's honest, rather than having an entire debacle then of the Falhammer thing, or even if it was like you said, Joe, just bringing someone in for a couple of games, have been like, hey up Neil, how are you doing? You fancy going to managers for these 2 games against Bolton? Yep, lovely. Come in Monday. We'll see you there, and we'll just see what happens. Whereas there were absolutely no communication. I think again, it just allowed. I think the silence at times just allows people to spiral in a way and send each other on different routes. It's not the truth, but it just sends people into this spiral of negativity and thinking. Which I understand it though when it happens of why
silence leads to speculation, doesn't it, in some ways, especially in this industry of football. And obviously we see all the reported stuff around different managers and has he rejected us, I don't know if they have, maybe they have, but it was genuine reason. Personally, I think Darryl Clark's an excellent appointment. I'm actually, out of all the people mentioned, apart from Michael Duff, who obviously we loved, Darryl Clark would have been right up there for me. So I think we've done the right thing in the end. It's just the process to get to that. Just that bit of communication could have just gone a long way to ease the frustration, make fans just feel like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, we've got it. We know what's happening. That's just one learning. I want the board to do well. I want Ladden, Sporting's director, all the board to do well. And I say it from a place of wanting them to succeed, because if they succeed, the club succeeds. So it's not just trying to be negative for negative's sake. I genuinely want to say it as a constructive criticism that I just want more communication, so that the silence doesn't lead to more frustration among the fan base, especially when we're trying to sell season tickets, because I want Oakwell to be full.
Yeah, it's like the timing of it was terrible, of it being like season ticket time, and then that silence to come. It's like, that's not great, because like you said, the speculation then doesn't help. And then you're not really entirely sure what to believe, what's true, what's hearsay, what's being reported accurately necessarily as well. So it's never a great time when it happens. And like you said, the owners don't want the club to fail in terms of they want to progress, because if we get up to the Championship, then it's more financial freedom and we can sort of scale the
Absolutely,
club
yeah.
up. They're not just here to rip all the profits out of it, because football clubs don't make a profit. That's one thing I never understand. If they're taking all the money, I'm like, are they? Because as far as I know, football clubs are notoriously a money pit of money just being thrown away and basically burnt.
I genuinely think they want the best for the club, just like we do, and I hope there can be that unity next season. But I do think there needs to be some learning from this season to make that happen and get fans back on side, sort of thing.
I think it's a good first step, though, Darryl Clark, as you mentioned. And speaking of Darryl Clark, let's end on a high.
Hang on. What's your rating at board?
Oh, 2. I think it's a massively missed opportunity. The recruitment for me, as Tracy said, was so poor. I don't understand how you can sign. I forgot. I did it on the last show. Of the players we signed before the first game of the season, only 2, I think O'Keefe and Roberts, stayed, and we signed. There was a list of about 7 or 8, and I was like, I don't understand how we can have signed this many players and only this many be here by the end of the season. I get that not every signing is going to be an immediate impact. Your Lapatas, your Jack Sheppards. I get they've got a few seasons to develop and mature, but you cannot sign 8 players before the first game and then be in a position of having only 2 of them at the club at the end of the season. I get there's got to be a balance between that of players that come in and immediately impact that team, because, as you've mentioned, not a drastically hard season. Reading came down last season. They were never going to be a problem because of the ownership troubles they were having. Blackpool came down, and you'd probably fancy us against Blackpool. And as we sort of saw by where they finished, not really that much of a problem or a threat necessarily, barring taking 6 points off us, which weren't great. Could have done with them. And then, yeah, you look at the way in which we predicted as well. None of us really had a side that came down to go straight back up. I think all of us have predicted it to be teams that were already in League One. Whereas you look at this season, Huddersfield, Michael Duff in charge, they're going to be a problem. Rotherham always do well at this level and have signed 6 players
everybody
at the moment.
But they have I think they've let 12 or 14 go, something along those lines. They've lost quite a lot of the squad.
There's going to be a wage bill trim there, but looking at the players they've signed, they've not signed anyone that I'm like, that's a massive mega signing. They've just signed good players, as in all right players. Yeah, they're just getting that good foundation in nice and early. Rotherham are always a problem at this level, and Birmingham.
Evans in charge as well.
Yeah, and Birmingham.
As much as I hate to say it, he's a good manager at this level.
He's done very good with Stevenage even last season. But looking at Birmingham as well, who apparently, according to their fans, are going to throw 15 million quid at this season, and they're rumoured to be robbing Pep Guardiola from City because apparently they can afford him now. It's going to be a very difficult.
Might be a stretch.
In Tom Brady playing up front for him.
They're going to play in CDM in that quarterback role that he loves, just spraying ball about. But you look at the 3 sides which have come down, and then you look at teams that come up. Well, Wrexham, they're going to be chucking some money at it. Stockport won the league and beat Wrexham to it. They'll be decent, and a good away day for me, so that's nice of them. And Mansfield and Crawley, who are going to be riding the crest away, it's not going to be. It's not as easy as it was last season, and it's that missed opportunity angle of if we'd have been more pragmatic in the transfer market of the summer, and because the only thing that we need to do was sign 3 good defenders, 4 good defenders, 2 good defenders and 1 to just nurture throughout the season, would have been there. But we had Lapata and Jack Shepherd with the 2 that came in before the season started, and you're asking a lot. You're asking a lot of Lapata to jump up. You're asking a crazy amount of Jack Shepherd to step up from Pontycock Coleridge all the way up to League One. Like, he's skipping out so many levels to even get to that point. Which
it was quite imbalanced as well, though, because we've got like 3 right backs and no left back really. We'd have got Cadden, but we got Lofthouse and
Lofthouse went straight out
O'Keefe.
on loan though as well.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying we've got Lofthouse, O'Keefe, Cotter, and William. In fact, we've got 4 right backs and no left. So
Yeah.
it was poor.
And there were no signing which were made that I was like, that's massively improved his side necessarily. It were a lot of we're fixing problems that we've not created, but problems that needed fixing of the defence. Like we couldn't really go and put money into improving the midfield or bringing in decent forwards because we'd got such a big hole at back of having to sign 2 keepers, 3 centre halves as a minimum. Ideally, could have done with a left back at some point, which never transpired. It's just that recruitment for me that was my big gripe with the board, and then everything else which went around it. Although I will give them the dues, credit where it's due. They on the other side's been beating the FA Cup this season, so
We don't have a trophy though.
yeah. So fair play to United for beating City, but also not the only undefeated side in the FA Cup. So you never know. If we hadn't have been kicked out, could have won it.
Surely we're going to get a trophy for 6 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll see if I can nick it from Old Trafford.
Let's get it. Yeah.
I'll have a word. That's gonna look very poor now if FA Cup suddenly goes missing from Old Trafford. I think I'm gonna be suspect at number 1. But on Daryl Clark, how do we feel about Daryl Clark? I know we've lightly brushed it so far, Tracy, but how do you feel about him coming in? Because it does feel like a breath of fresh air.
Great. I feel great. Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because he was never really on anyone's radar. The number of names that were bandied about and everywhere where I looked, there was like Craig's continuous betting that he kept sending us and suspended, not suspended, and at no point I don't think did we see Darryl Clark on there. Damien Duff kept appearing. Clearly, that was an error in his name, just being Duff. But
definitely somebody that's gone. Oh, Duff's going to sign for Barnsley, and they've put just random person just put Damien Duff and thrown a load of money on it, just not realising.
Say a load. I feel like a tenner will have moved that market massively. To be honest, there's not many people betting on next Barnsley boss. I don't think.
No,
probably not.
I'm absolutely thrilled. Liked him. I can't say I knew loads about him, but obviously knew more about him than we did about Neil Collins. Really liked him. Always liked his ethos. Heard him speak a few times, like what he did at Bristol Rovers. Obviously, Cheltenham, he came to the front in that he just made such a difference there. Obviously, spent a lot of time since looking at what he stands for, how he speaks. Genuinely, really, 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 from what I've seen, like the guy, like everything he says, his ethos, how he feels. I like the way he talks about bubbly changing room, togetherness, everything we've said we didn't have last season. He speaks like that's what he's going to have. I think it's exactly what we needed. We've got him in early. He spoke like he's going to have a lot to do with recruitment, which is good because, as I say, I don't know, but I get the impression that the manager didn't have a lot to do with recruitment. So it's good that it's going to be involved.
Wouldn't have anything to do with recruitment because we signed him so late.
Well,
I mean, most of the players had already come in before he had a chance.
Well, the ones who got to know they're sold anyway, so it don't matter. But yeah, I really like him. I think as you've just said, when I say I've got high hopes, I do have high hopes, but also, as we've said, this league's going to be difficult. But he knows the league, definitely. He knows the standard. He knows what's required. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but I feel like it's going to be more entertaining. So that'll please you, Joe, a lot. And
absolutely, yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, I've got high hopes. I just hope now, everyone's obviously, a lot of people are away on holiday, players are away on holiday. I think give it a couple of weeks and then we might start to see. I hope we're going to see some people coming in and a strong pre-season and a proper pre-season where we get some friendlies. And yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm very, very pleased. Maybe it was all along the great plan of the club. All along. We'll never know.
Maybe.
I'm not entirely sure that rings true, but hopefully it does. Tom, you excited, I assume, about it? No.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't overly excited when I first saw it. I was like, oh, he's just been relegated. Is he going to be that great? And then 10 seconds of looking on Google as well. Actually, he didn't come in until 10 games into the season. They'd not scored a goal and basically got one point. So he was just massively on back foot, and he took it all the way to the last game of the season, and they actually had a chance of staying up. So, you know, if he'd have been in charge right from the beginning of I think right in saying something like 16th, and you know, I'm not being horrible to Cheltenham. They're not a big side. That'd have been a decent finish for them. Especially, you know, they lost the main striker, so hence why the goals sort of dried up. But it's massively positive. You know, you hear from Port Vale fans, from Cheltenham fans, everyone's positive about him. There's no bad words to say about him, and he's got 5 promotions in 10 years. You know, that's not a bad CV, is it? Really? And I know he's got the one relegation on there, but you know, you look at the side. It were a relegation side, so it's not bad.
Yeah, I think once you had the context to it as well, like you've said, of he came in after 10 games, they'd not scored. They got 1 point or 2 points.
1 point from a 0-0 draw. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like it's not like he came in and brought them down like Rooney at Birmingham. He didn't do that. He went and like you said, took him to the final game to have half a chance. Joe, I'm assuming you're excited because he said running through brick walls is a non-negotiable for me.
I love that. I'm going to run through a brick wall now because Catherine's at front door. I need to let her in. So
she's going to tour the house.
Josh, what do you think? I'll give you a tour of my house. I'll be back in a minute.
That's
so professional. You missed this, haven't you, gang?
Yeah,
What's this like through the keyhole?
This looks like
quickly do a bacon sandwich and eat that.
It looks like a cutscene from Paranormal Activity. It looks like there's about to be something terrible that happens.
Oh, the lights on.
I'm glad it's turned lights on so I can see.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm excited about Daryl Clark. I think good appointment, and sort of just like you've mentioned, Tracy, sort of what he stands for, his approach, his ethos. As you've mentioned, some sort of serial winner as well, 5 promotions in 10 seasons. Yeah, the relegation, not great, but obviously you apply context to it, it's understandable. And even though some of the promotions obviously sit within non-league, sometimes the differences between them sides is not like there's not much difference between them, and it can be the manager that makes that difference, or the manager makes that difference in terms of being someone that can attract players. Especially down at non-league level, and if he's got someone that can get players to buy into the way in which he wants to play, which you'd assume, given his promotions, is something that he can do, I think he looks a good appointment. Joe, running through brick walls, a non-negotiable.
I've just been running through brick walls. I'm shattered. No, I love that. I love what you said about data as well, because sometimes we get really like strung up, don't we, on the sort of data system. I understand it because it just feels like sometimes doing that flexibility, but he said about the data can be useful, but also you've got to get the character of the players, all that sort of stuff, which I think, you know, I really respect that he understands that. His experience as well, as we've talked about in these leagues, just feels right. He feels like the sort of character that will just fit Barnsley. Similar to when Michael Duff came in, you just sense that, yeah, he gets what we're all about, you know, the hard-working graft, and that's what I want to see from his side. You know, Tracy joked about the running through brick walls, but that's what I want to see. I want to see high press. I want to see working as backsides off. Family show. Nearly forgot.
I saw it then. I saw it flash through your mind for a second.
That was close.
We've got a bleep.
All right, Andy's got a bleep.
Oh, we've got a bleep. Great.
Got a
bleep. Yeah, I'm bleeping really happy about it. It's great. Yeah, I just love what he said. You know, I think he's going to be really good for us. You know, obviously, the proof's obviously going to be when we start playing. But for me, I think we need to try not judge him too harshly because, as we've all said, the league this season is very tough. Last season, I genuinely believe it was quite an easy league compared to the previous season. I think, again, it's a tough league again this year. So I think if he gets us in the playoffs, he'll have done an excellent job based on the opposition. But, yeah, it feels right. he's got promotions with the lower leagues. He's flexible in the sense from listening to the other fans as well. Like when he's been challenging for promotion, it's been more attacking. When he's needed to be more defensive, he's been more defensive. So he seems to understand that balance of, who he's playing against and can adapt, which I think is a really positive thing as well. And like we said, with Cheltenham, I remember, I think Gabe Sutton said at one point in the season that if they'd have stayed up, he feels that he should have been in line for possibly, I think it was Gabe that said possibly manager of the season, because when you look at how bad their start was, I mean, was it like Tom says, 10 games without scoring a goal? Like to come into that situation and nearly keep them up, obviously he didn't quite achieve it, but if he had done, it would have been some achievement. So yeah, for me, weirdly, I say weirdly because we've gone through all this period of being linked to everybody. I was more excited about him than probably most of the managers we've been linked to. So in the end, I'm going to give some credit to the board here. In the end, they got the right man for me, and obviously we'll see if that happens. But when the football starts, but for me, I think very, very happy. Can't wait to see the lads not literally running through brick walls, but lots of high press and lots of energy, lots of passion and commitment. Big tackles, Josh. You like a good big tackle, fair tackle, but good.
No, high and late.
Oh, yeah.
High and late.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, none of this fair and hard. No. From behind, high, late. Red card for me. Thank you very much. We'll be having that. No, I think it does seem thing. I'm just glad it's not a manager that's previously managed us before, because I just don't think that works. I hate that of someone coming back. They left once. That's it. Let's go somewhere else. Let's try something different.
Oh, so you wouldn't have had Michael Duff back if it
wouldn't have had Michael Duff
finishing
back.
the job after nearly
Wouldn't have had Daniel Stendhal back.
No, I'm 100% with you, Josh. 100% feel
really?
the same. Yeah, 100%.
Duff would have been my first choice, I've got to admit.
No, I think it lacks creativity. I'd rather Thalhammer, and I've no idea what's coming in, than Duff, Stendhal, anyone that's previously managed us, to be honest. Other than Val, just because that was funny. I've got a lot of time for.
Well, I'm surprised you weren't linked because everybody else was.
I think it's probably because he's on about 40 grand a week, wherever he's been before. I think that rolls him out nicely.
He's probably still on 40 grand a week with all contracts that he's not seen out.
I love a little pair, bless him. Right. We hope you have enjoyed the second part of our season review. We've brought Joe back out of retirement for one game. It's like a testimonial.
I do. No, I feel like it's been a good experience, but I do want to just say,
this could be 23s. This is like 23 side, and like I landed Craig at first team.
What have I done wrong? Why am I?
And then
I've been doing 23s. Manager's fallen out of me.
And then you three are vying for a place on main part of podcast next season. Maybe that's how we do. Yeah, maybe this is how we do this summer. Just keep switching.
Oh. If Andy's watching, come on, I've got you in your sights, mate. I think I've got a good performance tonight from me. I think it was a good solid 8 out of 10. Would have been 10 if I'd not had to run downstairs to let my wife in. But
that really
the show.
Yeah, that's
put you in. That's put you in.
You're the shout now.
Who lives in a home like this?
Anyway, can I just say, I know I've not been on for a while, but I just wanted to quickly just steal the mic for a second and just say, obviously you guys who watch regularly, new people might not know, but know that I left because I was struggling with anxiety and stuff. I just want to say a massive thank you to all the Barnsley fans, because one of the shining lights for me this season is I kind of went off social media quite a bit just to try and get myself sorted out and try and, just get my head in a good place again. But constantly through it all, like so many of you guys just kept messaging me just to check in. Like, it weren't just the week after. It was like still now I get messages on like, people just dropping in the DMs, just seeing how I'm doing and stuff. I'm doing a lot better. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all the Barnsley fans, because you guys, honestly, this is why I love supporting this club, because you're all amazing. Sorry. Just brought it down for a second, but there we go. Thanks, Josh. I just wanted to get that out there.
Oscar performance for him to be in the starting again. That's all.
That's all it was. That's all it was. 10 out of 10. Come on.
It's like a sob story on Britain's Got Talent, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to get to the final now.
Have you got your world's smallest violin at the ready, Tom, to see us out?
He's pulled his Celtic bag there. Let's see. I've got a real selection headache now for next show. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with it. No, it's been a pleasure to have you back, Joe. More for the tour of your house than anything else. Good to know that it's 2 stories and not a bungalow. So yeah, it's been great.
If you want to see more of my house, Josh, then you'll have to have me on again.
Just do every time you pop on, just use a different room.
To be fair, guys, he actually said to me before we started recording, he said, I missed you. You said, did you say you missed my voice? Or you like the sound of my voice? I was like, that's because you've not spoke to me in a while. One at two.
There was something like that.
Revealing your secrets now.
Yeah, I think I might have said
He basically
that.
admitted he missed me, so, you know.
I just
There you go.
missed someone else to do the outros, which, Joe, feel free to do the outro if you want and take it away.
Oh, that's a pleasure. Thank you. Oh, you had a all right season. This has been Red All Over, and we'll catch you for next season. You Reds.